What up, what up, what up? It is a special edition of the Shark Cove. Early morning. We forgot to talk about LEC last night. We talked so much that we talked our way out of so much money. Like, fuck me. Fuck me. I do want to actually throw a disclaimer that we're probably going to be, setting a vulgarity record, possibly. I don't know. A lot of fucking happened, and then that doesn't even make sense, but it did. Look, I told you anybody's legend was going to win at least one game. They won two. I didn't play them. It screwed me. I told you a 4-3 was a good way to go. Nathan said not to do that. Well, he wasn't going to do that. I'll let him share a story about that. You know what? As a matter of fact, let's bring Nathan in. Come on, hey Nathan. 4-3s F the world, right?
4-3s, clicking the wrong team slot one off. Also, just a brutal way to lose. Obviously, the 4-3 actually loses. I think.
Yeah, I think it loses by like 1 point. But
the 4-3 loses, but the 4-2-1 with BLG wins. And the reason why I'm tilting that is because when I build my like X amount of lineups for each sort of combo that I'm sort of like figuring out, when I have a situation like I'm playing a bunch of V5 and BLG team slots in my AL and Bro lineups, I'm literally just alternating.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a 50% chance that he just comes in the wrong one, and it's so tilting. It's obviously like a $9,000 difference. So
yeah, it's no big deal. Also, making his first appearance on the Shark Cove, the guy that came up with the guys that fuck model to play a guy to figure out who the play is. He's going to elaborate a little bit more on his strategy of finding the guys to score the most points and putting them in his lineup. Revolutionary stuff. We've got everybody knows him. Ian J.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Welcome to the Cove. Welcome to the Cove. So, I feel like, I mean, we talked a little bit before the stream started, and it seems like nobody's having a great morning. I have mega registered for LEC, and I am chasing right here. So, it is what it is. There's some head to heads in the lobby if anybody wants to go ahead and take those. The normal people have not. So, it is what it is. But we've got a slate in front of us. We've got the LEC. It's always fairly straightforward, but there's one team that surprises us. We do have two teams that have created a ton of heartbreak for myself, for many people around the entire world. Kicking it off, we've got the Misfits, we've got BDS, we've got Misfits as a minus 200 favorite here. What do you guys think about this, Ian? I mean, like you're kind of like a one lineup in all of the winner take alls, like literally all of the winner take alls. Like they register, you're like they pop up, you're in it. Is Misfits a team that you're considering? Is BDS a team that you're considering in GPPs, or are we just going to jump right to the last game? I mean,
I've been a Misfits stan across multiple splits now. I occasionally will bet, like, if I feel like there's something that catches my eye, and I feel like Misfits is just kind of always underpriced in the market. I think they're a pretty good team. I think they're good again. VTO definitely fucks. Like, he's one of the biggest fuckers in the whole LEC for sure. So I'm always a fan of him. And so, yeah, pretty much any slate, Misfits is live to be in my lineup. Doesn't always work out, but in terms of like, I don't always play them, but they're one of the teams that I'm always looking to play. VTO in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think I was one of the original VTO truthers, and he's just a guy that I've hitched my wagon to, and I probably will be playing pretty heavily. I haven't started to build any of my cash games or any of my lineups, but I have a feeling that Misfits are going to be in there. I'm going to put a abnormally large wager on this game, so I'm prepared for it to kind of like really, really hurt me. Nathan, what do you think about this game? I mean, BDS gives up a lot of kills in their deaths, but I just don't know if the way that they do it is it's replicatable. Like, I guess is the way that I'm going to say it, because like against Mad, it was just that they got out to such a huge lead and then they just threw it. Like, I don't know if they do that against Misfits. I don't know if they just get rolled.
I think it's an interesting spot, obviously being mostly a tournament player with a little bit of cash. I think Misfits actually might become sort of a cash chalk-esque thing just because of pricing, because it doesn't feel great to jam either Rogue or Fnatic with Vitality, just pricing-wise. Misfits gives you a little more salary. I haven't done it yet, but I assume you can get like a one position better captain with Misfits. That being said, people hate BDS. People hate them. They're not a good team, obviously, but people hate them. They're the anyone's legend of the LEC. Just a terrible team, and that means that I'm gonna have a ton of them probably.
I'm actually higher on BDS than you or maybe people. I think BDS is like a reasonable team. I
Really,
and I totally, like, if I was an MME guy, I would for sure have like a good amount of BDS on this slate, because I think BDS is pretty good. And I always like when teams are playing up in like combined kills per minute, or like up in pace essentially. And right now Misfits has the highest in the LEC through so far this season. So yeah, I think BDS gets a really good spot in terms of if they are able to win. They got a good chance to have a good score. I do think that their distribution of kills is a little ugly. So like maybe they're better as a secondary stack. I don't know. Their kill participation is really low.
yeah,
which I don't love.
Well, and I think a lot of that stems from where they get the majority of their kills in these games. I mean, like, they only have 3 wins, and one of those wins was against Exile. It was really low scoring. The game against Astralis was kind of weird, and the SK was also mega low scoring. So if you're looking at like their kill participation within wins, specifically, I think it's going to be lower just because you don't have a large enough sample or enough kills to normalize it. And then if you're factoring in the losses on top of that, you end up getting kind of skewed data. Just obviously wins and losses are going to be very different. You're going to have less kill participation and strange distributions in those losses, I think. I think the one game that you can probably look to as the most truly indicative of how they would probably play is against Mad, and just like focus on that game and the kill participation in that game, the kill share in that game, because that was a game that for all intents and purposes should have been won. And so, the majority of those kills came while in the lead, while controlling before they decided to throw. I do think BDS is a fantastic, like a GPP team. But when I'm looking at teams sometimes, especially on Saturdays, when we have these weekends, teams that play well on Friday or Saturday, going into the next day, sometimes they're a team that I want to target, and I just don't know if BDS is going to be able to take the high points from last week and build on them. They played well against G2 despite getting smashed. They played well against Mad despite throwing it. I just don't know if they come out and play with the same form, or we see the BDS team that got smashed by Vitality, Rogue, and Misfits, all obviously better teams. But the last time these two teams played, Misfits handled them pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm definitely expecting Misfits to win, but I really do think BDS is not like a joke. I don't think they're a clown show team. Like, I think they're probably I don't know, the 7th or 8th best team instead of the 9th or 10th best team is all I'm saying. But I think they're semi-reasonable.
I think they have a ton of potential. They're all young kids, and they're raw, and man, maybe they're just ready to fuck. I don't know. Maybe today's the day. Like, the Misfits roll over 16, 17, 27, and 18 deaths in their losses. So I mean, outside of Bad, I don't know if there's a better team to target in those type of situations.
Misfits plays high kill games, and they're going to. I think they're going to keep doing that. For what it's worth, BDS in the game against Mad only had one player over 70% kill participation. So I just do think that maybe they play more of like a pick style or something, where a lot of their kills end up with like 2 or 3 people involved or whatever it is. But I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I'm sure there's room for 4 stacking them, but I feel like smaller stacking BDS might be the play.
Yeah, they're super concentrated on nuclear int.
For sure. He's the one guy that I really like.
Yeah, like if I'm just looking at my own stuff, like my own projections sort of deal right now, and like they're all like mid 30s, and then like in wins, and then like nuclear int's like high 40s, like mid 40s, high 40s. So it's like the guy fucks, as a smart man might say.
Yeah, they don't really pop super well in my projections overall, but I will say that they probably have one of the chances to reach some of those top percent like outcomes better than some of these other teams that maybe even are projected above them. Like, I mean, for example, if we go into the next game, we've got Rogue playing Astralis, and this game does not really attract me in a GPP standpoint. We've seen Rogue be utterly dominant, and the way that they do that, we've seen Astralis be utterly incompetent, and I don't tend to believe that anything different is going to happen. Rogue is a minus 1,500 favorite. I will tell you, Nathan, that you can fit Rogue and Misfits with a jungle captain in a cash lineup.
You can also fit a 4-stack of Rogue with jungle captain with a Mad Lions one-off team, which I think might be a go-to for a lot of people. But I did not run the 4 Misfits, 3 Rogue teams yet. So that's interesting to know. I might have to consider that, actually.
And you can actually run a 3-3 with a Vitality team or anything 5,300 or more with a self-made captain. So I think that it looks like it's one of the more wide open cash slates because there are a lot of different combinations amongst the favorites that you can go to. Obviously, that G2 Mad game is going to be split, and we'll get to that because I think that is obviously it's the key to the entire slate. But before we get to that, Ian, do you any thoughts on this Rogue Astralis game? I don't know if we really need to deep dive into a minus 1,500 favorite here.
Yeah, real quick, I do think Misfits is really strong. I was on BDS like a little bit in terms of just talking about them, but that's more from like a large field tournament standpoint. I still think Misfits is strong. I think they might be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league. I know that's probably a hot take, but that's my take. Anyway, Rogue, yeah, I mean, I think these games can be surprising to me. A lot of the time, like most of the time, Rogue is just going to stomp, and it's going to be really easy, and they don't have to push the envelope too much, and they end up, with 14 kills or whatever it may be. But then I think there are some times where maybe Astralis will do something where like they pick up like a funky tempo, and all of a sudden it snowballs into like a huge Rogue win, like 20, 21 kills or whatever it might be. So I could see that, but obviously it feels like the most likely outcome is just Rogue just like cruises to a super easy like 15, 16 kill win or whatever it is, and they're not overly necessary for tournaments.
Yeah, and unless they have like super high kill participation, they're not just like necessary for anything.
Yeah, I mean, right. The problem when you look at these two teams is Rogue is a well-coached team. They're better in every position, and like it's not even close. They're better at drafting, and one of the things that they do is, they're just that team that takes care of business, wins, and they know that the regular season doesn't mean anything to them at this point. I mean, like they're pretty much locked into playoffs if they haven't already secured it. Certainly, they could lose all the rest of their games and maybe not make it. Maybe I think they might even still make it if that's the case. But I think that they are able to capitalize on windows when the other team makes mistakes and it's a team fight, and maybe it's at 20 minutes, but they'll go finish. They know when they can finish. They know the limits. And a team like Astralis is not a particularly good team fighting team. They're not a team that drafts very well. They're a team that the only way that they end up giving you a lot of points is if they turtle and extend the game and there's a ton of fights. But I just don't see them winning any of those late game fights 25 minutes and beyond in such a fashion frequently enough to play Rogue, because you need Rogue to lose 2 or 3 people so they can't finish. I think we see a fight around 24, 25 minutes. I think Rogue wipes Astralis. Maybe it's for Dragon Soul, and we end up with like a 16, maybe 17 kill win. I think I have them like 16-6 is what I have this projected for. So that's not going to get anybody paid unless it's like one guy cleaning up, and unless you're Googs, you're not doing a one-off Rogue. I'm sure he will.
I didn't even jump on my shtick here in this game. Comp actually like seriously fucks this season. Like highest KP in the league besides Hillisang, and highest kill share. Like the guy is going off. And like he projects really strong for me, even though Rogue doesn't project for, a ton of kills. so as odd as it sounds, like a comp one-off is one of the few one-offs I would consider. I actually played an elk one-off last night in the 333. I played a V5 with Bro with an elk one-off because I just didn't see the huge Bro upside that manifested itself. But no, like comp is one of the very, very few players in all of League of Legends, like in any league, that I would consider one-offing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Larson's playing really well too, and his projections haven't necessarily caught up to the last 2 weeks. I think if you maybe even isolate the last like 2 weeks, Larson would probably pop a little bit higher. I don't have comp as like the highest, but certainly, look, if they get to that 20 to 22, if somehow Astralis is able to extend this game for an additional 10 minutes, they are able to get that team fight where maybe they get an early pick, they still get wiped, but they take out 1 or 2 more guys. This turns into a 20 kill game, and it's just a matter of where those fights are going to happen. And like you're saying, like you want a one-off because or short stack, because Rogue's going to pick people off all over the map, and there's not going to be a ton of kill participation against a team that has this big of a skill gap between the two.
I think comp might be like the single most likely player to get 30 or more points on this slate, is one way I'd put it.
Sure. I mean, I think
for an individual.
Outside of like whoever wins that G2 Mad, like whether it's flat or it's Unforgiven,
I'm taking
one of those guys. Yeah.
I'm taking the betting line into account, like, because those guys could easily flop if their team struggles.
Right.
So, comp's team's not going to flop, and comp is going to be involved. So, I don't know.
Sure. All right, so let's move on to the next game. Apparently, I closed this. We've got Vitality and Excel, and I think this is a juicy spot. Like Excel is kind of in that realm of like semi-competent sometimes. Like, I don't know. Do we think that they're better than BDS? Are they as good as BDS? We're talking about BDS against Misfits, but Misfits feels better than Vitality than me. Excel seems as good, if not better, than BDS. But we've got a plus 200 line, and I think part of that is because Vitality at their absolute best is probably, competing for the best in this league, but we haven't seen their absolute best except for against bad teams, which some would argue Excel is. But that plus 200 line is something I'm going to fire at. What kind of interest and what players are you interested in, Nathan? Because there's definitely a guy that fucks on Excel.
Yeah, I mean, Nuke Duck doesn't fuck, but
no.
the guy's trash.
No,
he's
the dude in the corner, man. He's the guy
in the worst.
That sounds like he's got the name that sounds like he fucks. Okay, I mean, obviously, I'm 90% sure we're referencing Marcoon when we talked about players that fuck on this team.
No, I'm talking about Patrick, man. Marcoon does sometimes.
Get out. Just how does Patrick fuck?
I'm with Emmerich.
Oh God.
Patrick is my highest projected non-G2 Mad guy.
Like we talked about last night, Emmerich, I've got like severe biases when it comes to not projections, but to the way I think about players, and Patrick just has never been it for me. Every time I've played him and Excel has won, he's just done nothing.
When have you played him and he's done nothing, man? This guy is
I don't know.
He's a wagon, man. He is. He carries you there. He is. Like, look, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you. He fucks and losses. He fucks and wins. He's fucking all the time. Marcoon, Marcoon does sometimes. Like, Marcoon's probably one of my favorite players, but sometimes Marcoon's hanging out with Nuke Duck, and sometimes he's hanging out with Patrick, man. Like,
so I guess the reason why I have that take is like, so everything that I do obviously is all projection based, right? Projection and wins, whatever. When you compare them within their position, like Finn and Marcoon are like near the top for in their position in wins for me, and like Patrick and Nuke Duck are like in that like 4th to 6th range instead of being like 7 to 10, and then like Mickix just like sucks, or Mickey he just is.
I have Patrick right there with all the leaders at the carry position too, like just below Unforgiven and Comp pretty much. Well, Comp is like probably not as good. Comp is probably not as good as I have him projected, is what I'll say, because I just think that those numbers are so high that they probably rate to come down some.
Yeah, I had Comp projected as like the worst player in the league to start the league off. Like he just projected terribly for me. Like I was getting like 35 in wins from Comp, and like I updated my sheet like 2 weeks ago, and now he just like is up there every single time. Obviously from this ridiculous year, but
look, it's not just Comp. I mean, when the reason that Comp is able to be as good as he is Trimby has taken a huge step up. He was a guy that I was thoroughly unimpressed with last year. I didn't think he was that much different than Vander the year before. So it was like you had something that was good. Why'd you switch? But like his development and the way that he plays and the variety of champions and the way that he can play them has really unlocked Comp's ability to do this. I mean, the dude was stuck with like Labrov the last time we saw him in the league, and we see how Karzi's playing with him. Karzi was a dude that fucked last year, and this year he's got some problems sometimes. So yeah, I mean, I got Patrick up there, but like Nuke Duck is like my worst. I think I even manually adjusted him. Like he might have projected better than that, but I was just like, no way. And like I just gave him an auto 10% hit for being Nuke Duck.
He's bad at the game. That is for sure. There's no arguing that.
It's but so funny that it's funny that I'm on here like talking this shit with you guys because you guys are all about projections and not being biased, and I give you shit about being biased, just joking around. I'm the most biased player, and I very seldomly like trust any projections. I just kind of go with what seems right to me, based on like looking at all the data and stuff.
Well, I'll tell you, like Nathan's more the day. I do the projections, and I do it just because there was a void there, and it does give you some indications of where things should go most often, but. Honestly, for the longest time going into this year, all I did was track kills and deaths. It was basically this sheet. And I looked and I was like, all right, well, they give up a lot of kills. I want whoever they're playing against. That's it. Like that's all I did.
That's how I play.
I mean, look, you don't need everything else. You can do that. I think when you're playing cash games specifically, like head to head, things of that sort, some of these projections are things that you should rely on a little bit, at least like as we talked about last night, to be, indicators, not necessarily be precise, but indicators. And even though I was completely off in my DFS lineups on anybody's legend, I did have them projected very high in wins. I just was very biased and only played them with 4 OMG. That's it. That didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I'd keep.
We didn't talk about Vitality that much. I've had a take on Vitality since like the first game of the season. I think they're like the initial first year LeBron Miami Heat team where they're gonna take time to develop, and it seems like they might be kind of coming into their own already. But like at first, what they lose the first 3 games or whatever, the super team.
Yeah.
So like I kind of wanted to bet XL plus 200 or whatever based on what's happened so far in the season, but I'm a little concerned that Vitality turned a corner and now is like better than what they've put down so far this season or this split.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when it comes to best of ones, though, like regardless of how good the other team is, anytime you can get like plus 200 odds on a team that's semi-comparable or competent, I think you take it. And I think Vitality is a team that is hot and cold enough. Like when they're at their best, they just flawlessly go through the competition. But sometimes they don't draft right. Sometimes they look unenthused. Sometimes Selfmade makes some boneheaded plays, and Alfari's just not there for the team. Labrov is not really that great of a support, and the team just doesn't function well. Specifically last week, one of the big games that they had, what was it? I think it was it Misfits? No, it was against Astralis. Like that game, they shouldn't have won that game. But Astralis let them back into that. Like you almost lost to Astralis with all this talent. It just, at the end of the day, the other team's still professionals, and the other team, if they outdraft you and they out execute, especially early, this game can snowball. But I think you play like the problem I have with Vitality, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but they're one of the easiest teams, in my opinion, to project, at least from a team kill total, because it's super consistent. We're somewhere between 16 to 18. So it averages out to 17. Like it's 17. Like they're going to get 17 kills, and that is pretty much like the league average, somewhere between 16 to 18. So for them to fall in that number, I feel pretty confident that they'll do it again. The way that they win, the way that they play is a 16 to 17 kill win. So that's not exciting.
It's not. Yeah.
It's not terrible. It's the LEC we're talking about. It's the LEC.
They have really poor kill participation so far this season too, like really bad. So they don't project very well for me at all. Vitality.
It's a team of individuals.
Yeah.
Perks comes out well. Karzi, Selfmade, Alfari. Alfari is like one of the worst, along with Adam. I mean, I think they play a similar role within their team, to be quite honest. They're just kind of left out on an island, and nobody likes them. Maybe, I don't know.
They have 4 players 63% and under KP. Well, 3 under 60 this split. So that's pretty crazy low for any team, really. And I think XL is like with BDS and like a cut above SK and Astralis, but in that kind of next tier of bottom teams where they're not horrible, but they're not good, obviously. But like Emmerich said, competent. Like they're semi-competent. I mean, they're so far this split they have a negative 60 gold at 15. Like that's pretty good. You know, it's solid. It means they're in most games at that point. And the way I view League is like if you're in the game at that point, you got a chance. You know, like I mean, teams like SK is down 2,000 gold at 15 so far this split. They're just dead. Like every game, they're dead. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, it's interesting to think about it like that. It's also interesting to think about it like if they're always in the game at 15, but their record looks so poor.
Yeah.
It's kind of also no. I'm not saying that it's the same idea. It's like I don't know if the extrapolation works honestly. What is XL's record right now?
I honestly don't know the record. I don't look at stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true.
They're 4-5. So
they've got some wins. Yeah, we're good. Australia. Yeah. Oh my God, Australia.
Well, I think Gelati, probably Gelati. I learned from that the early game is a little more consistent and predictable, and like more of an indicator of the quality of a team, and then the late game carries more randomness into it. So I don't know. So I value the early game stats a lot, and like the record and the late game stats a little.
Yeah, one of the things that you can bet if you can get it. Actually, let's take a look here because Excel has been excelling. Plan words there at first blood, whereas Vitality has not been very good at first blood. I was looking for a word there, but I didn't have it. Of course, they don't even have the prop up. Amazing, wonderful, great Bovada, fucking assholes.
Vitality's at 11% first blood. One time in their first 9 games.
Yeah. So.
And Excel 67. So yeah, seems like a likelihood, we'll say.
So yeah, they get that. What are they like? So what is Vitality doing? They're 56% first dragon. They've got a Baron percentage. I mean, when you look at it, like the Baron percentage on XL is a problem. Is it in wins that Vitality ends up just having? No, they still suck at first bloods.
Excel and Vitality actually have about the same Baron percentage for what it's worth.
Yeah, so when you look at these two teams,
I think Excel's can compete.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're going to need to build a big enough lead early in the game. They're one of the better early game teams, but so is Vitality. It's just when Vitality is lost, they've lost early. Because if you look at like kind of just their wins, and I think this is carried a lot from the Astralis game though. You like got a 66 or in losses rather. Vitality just 51. Maybe it's not what I thought it was. I was looking at something different. Never mind. Go on, proceed. It's good.
I mean, at the end of the day, for me in this game, I'm not terribly interested from a fantasy perspective. Yeah, I think it's a somewhat interesting game if you're betting to maybe bet XL, but from a fantasy perspective, I don't have a ton of interest in this game either way.
News
maybe
from
Patrick and Marcoon because they fuck a little bit.
Yeah, news from the top esports or the esports department Discord. I'm sorry, I haven't been drinking yet this morning. Just coffee. Mike B is on Excel. They are apparently sneaky.
Slam.
So
got it. Understood.
Oh man, I'm with Mike B.
I do love that just randomly every week every team is sneaky. It just depends on the person that's going to type it into the chat. Like, yo, one of these 10 teams, there's only 10. So like there's 3 that are chalk, there's 2 that you won't play. Out of those other 5, these 2 teams are sneaky. Nobody's sneaky.
Oh yeah. There's always a sneaky team.
Nah, John Rahm is always sneaky. If you're playing
John Rahm sneaky.
Yeah, sneaky guy, low owned. Always.
Nobody knows about him.
Yeah, Kevin Na is a sneaky guy sometimes.
Martin Laird is the sneaky guy.
Kevin Na, random story. I've been lucky enough to be able to play this club in Vegas that he belongs to, and I've seen him like numerous times on the driving range. It's kind of cool, like be standing there and you're hitting balls like all over the yard, and Kevin Na's
He's just launching.
If you ever talk to him, tell him I play him every DFS slate, and I have for like 4 or 5 years. I went off and
so it's on this thing called the Shark Cove, and this guy, he's
been playing you since like long time ago. You and Jim Furyk are like his 2 guys.
It's the biggest compliment you can get to be played in DFS.
The top 2 there.
We believe.
You playing old man Furyk, and you're playing Kevin.
Well, look, this started like 4 or 5 years ago. So I mean, Furyk was still pretty old, but it was like, oh man, I mean, it was like maybe 2017, 18, and like he was going through a good streak. And my friend Adam that like does like the golf content over at drroto.com. He was just besmirching Jim Furyk, and I couldn't stand for it. So I came to his aid. I defended him. And then the Kevin Na came from, I had a friend that used to do all my golf lineups for me. Like he can't play, he's in Washington. He would just create the golf lineup, send it to me. I'd put it in, and he'd always put Kevin Na in. So like, I didn't know any of the golfers. I just saw this dude, Kevin Na, in every single one of my lineups. So I just kept it going for the last couple of years. Whenever I play golf, Kevin Na's there. If he's not on the slate, I don't want to play it. So
I love it. Kevin Na's the man. I love it.
He's sneaky. He's leveraged. But getting back to this, I do think that when it comes to large field GPPs, you can play Vitality, you can play Excel. I think this game actually is a game that I can see being absolutely terrible, being absolutely great. It has a range of outcomes that fits every single narrative. It just depends on what you want your projections to say. That's it.
Yeah. If I was playing it personally, it would probably be maybe Excel large stacks, but probably Excel small stacks, and Vitality. I mean, I'm not super interested personally.
For sure. Okay. Well, what about SK and Fnatic? This game feels like it should feel like this Rogue Astralis game, but Fnatic they've looked neutered, man. Like they you take the Bwippo off this team and nobody fucks like at all. Like this team just fucking sucks for DFS. They're good. Upset has some big games, but 15, 16, 13, pair 17s and 15.
Humanoid's just a bad player.
Yeah, Humanoid's the worst.
He's just the nut low. You can't play a team with that has Humanoid on it.
Yeah, look, there's nothing on this team that's interesting to me. Like Wonder had a couple good games to start the split, but that was like on Tank Akali, and if your top gets Akali, I mean, you should feel good because you have an opportunity. Like if your tank or if your top gets Gragas and is building Tank Gragas, you probably don't feel nearly as good. Or if they get Scion or any of these champions that aren't Gwen, basically. Or Jace. Those are the 2. Jace, Gwen. You want a little bit of Akali.
Camille, maybe.
Yeah, Camille. I mean, it depends on the matchup.
Seems to have good fantasy games. I mean, I know nothing about League of Legends, but I know which champions tend to have good fantasy games. I always was in the Discord about Renekton, like, fuck, my guy picked Renekton, I'm screwed. That sort of thing.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, look.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
It's Camille's ability to get to the back line and just be involved as the engage on fight. Like if she gets onto the carry into the back, throws her ultimate, they can't leave. Everybody else piles in. Hopefully they win that fight and she survives it. And if that's the case, maybe she gets a kill. She gets four assists, and it just takes her a little time to get online. And she's sometimes abused in the early game, which can lead to losses. But look, I don't see Fnatic losing to SK. Stranger things have happened. Speaking of SK, they do have a guy that absolutely fucks on SK that, if you are going to play SK, I would be interested in.
I know you're on here.
Yeah, it's Gen X. Gen X has been having, he's one of the best outside of Broken Blade, who obviously is going to be in what projects as the best fantasy environment. Gen X is not particularly in one of those. And if you're Googs and you're playing Astralis and you're playing G2 or you're playing Mad, maybe you work in a little Gen X, as your one-off. Just to kind of hurt yourself. What do you think, man?
I don't think I'd play him as a one-off, but just because like I said, I play very, very, very few one-offs. Like it's really rare. But if I do, it's usually a big favorite, because it's like, oh yeah, that team's gonna win, and that guy, he'll be solid or whatever it might be. But if I was gonna play Gen X, it would be part of a stack, of course. But yeah, this game's interesting. It's kind of like this game, kind of similar vibes to Rogue Astralis and frankly Billy from last night, where a lot of times I'll play these games as like the secondary stack. If I'm playing like a big dog or something, or if I'm playing some sort of underdog main stack, or a team like G2 stacked, I might play this game as the second stack, where I feel really good that Fnatic's going to win. I don't feel like they're gonna, crush or anything. I don't like their chances to really break the slate or anything. But it's kind of like a more secure, safe points.
Yeah, I think it's like you want to play SK. Like SK has like been like the team that has won as like a mega dog like multiple times just in the past few years, and like I think they end up like sitting there as like a consideration, like much more than they should be a lot of the time. Like Fnatic's gonna win. Do I want to use them as a main stack? No. Fnatic sucks, but like SK sucks kind of worse.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I would say is that when Fnatic has lost, they either got just rolled by G2, but they gave up quite a few kills to Rogue. They gave up quite a few kills to XL. A lot of my BDS tilt was subdued to some extent when Fnatic lost, because I had like a large parlay of all favorites with BDS, and it was going to pay really well. So when BDS blew it, it kind of sucked, but then Fnatic double blew it, so I didn't feel that bad. But they just lost to XL. This Fnatic team doesn't seem like, we talked about BDS earlier being like hot or cold, being a different team from week to week. I think Fnatic's very similar to that. They're a completely different team. Like you can go and just dominate Mad, then lose to XL. You can have two dominant performances. I mean, honestly, when I look at who they've played, who they've beat, how they've beat them, it's a rather unimpressive lineup. I mean, you lost to Rogue, you lost to G2, you lost to the two teams that you're comparing. Everybody says that you're good, but is it just because people think that you're good that you're perceived as good? Because I don't know if you are. Like, to quote Moose, like, is Fnatic good? Like, actually good? Not even just from a fantasy standpoint. Because if they're not good, they can't win, or they won't win, or they're not live to win, or at least the other team is live to win. And maybe we play some Certus, who, for whatever reason, projects abnormally well for me in the mid lane.
Yeah, I actually don't agree here. I think Fnatic is pretty good. I mean, we've reached a point in the LEC season now where each team has played everybody once, and they're second in gold at 15. SK is handily the worst. Like, I think SK is terrible. Like, I'm not super interested. I mean, I guess I could see it from a large field GPP standpoint, but I just think they're awful. I think this line should be higher. I don't know that I think Fnatic is the second best team in the league, but so far they've performed like the second best team in the league behind Rogue. So I'm not super interested in this game, other than like maybe Fnatic small stacks to pair with whatever large stack you think. And by the way, we were talking about Fanatics guys fucking Hillisang, who I've hated forever. 81% kill participation through 9 games. That's wild. I didn't see that one coming. I talked to Nathan about this a few weeks ago.
Yeah, he sucked so bad last year, and now he's just like a guy.
He's literally got the highest kill participation in the league. I don't understand what's going on there, but yeah. So I don't mind that, and I think Upset is okay. I think Razork is okay. I agree that Humanoid is the worst, and then Wonder got off to a really hot start. I feel like, but it's been pretty rough the last couple games.
Yeah, just browsing a lot of the stats for Fnatic. I mean, they do very well at dragon control. They're the best in the league at that. They're third or fourth in a lot of different positions. Their GPM and wins is actually 7th, and SK is a little bit better, but SK is like 9th or 10th and everything else. But I will tell you another team that's like bottom of the league that won anybody's legend. So look, I'm going to play some SK. I don't. It's not financial advice. I don't think that you should. But I'm going to have like five or 6 stacks of SK in the main, and I wouldn't play them in the higher stakes, but that's kind of where I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's how I would approach it if I was going to play some SK. I don't feel like they're a great team to play if like you have two entries or whatever, that sort of thing.
And they're definitely not playable in cash. Now, do we think Fnatic is playable in cash? I mean, you can play Fnatic with just about every team with the exception of Rogue, unless you want to go with the Hillsing captain. And we all know how I feel about support captains. I'm not doing it, especially not when like you're forced into it on a slate like this, where there are so many other options with favorites and with carries that you don't have to go to it. Last night, it felt like it was a little bit more viable because there were less options. Nathan, what do you think from a cash perspective on this Fnatic team?
So obviously cash is like a super weird spot, just in terms of like trying to figure out how you're going to do it. So you really do want Rogue in your cash, just odds wise. Obviously, they're the highest odds to win, as well as like they're just the best team right now. And like there's ways to fit Rogue with other 70% favorites, which you don't have to support captain, versus with Fnatic you have to support captain. So you probably don't play Fnatic in cash. Now, does that mean you can play like a 4-stack Fnatic and winner take alls? Probably not, because like all of your winner take alls is like Madden G2 stacks most likely. But like you could probably like be better off small stacking them in winner take alls, because people are
I don't mind that.
Like I mean, here's a chop for winner take alls. It's going to be G2 Rogue. You don't get away from that at winner take alls. G2 is dirt cheap.
You think it's going to be G2 Rogue? Like, I don't know, man. People
pricing. Like people don't want to play like when you have a game that's 50-50 almost, and one team has an average salary of like 6,700 and the other one has an average salary of 6,200. The 6,200 team is just going to come in way overowned. So I guess you can double jungle with El Yoya captain. Is that what I'm seeing right now?
Wait, why does this have Flacked on the team? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't. Hold on a sec. Not enough salary, right?
No, when they added Flacked and Unforgiven on Labs, they put them on the same team. So that's super cool. You could one off a game stack here.
Yeah.
Hang on. Let me do this. Let me take him out, and then
I think G2 is gonna be like mega chalk, like way more than they should.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, you could take Unforgiven out, but you could get this lineup, and like, look, as getting into this game, like getting away from that Fnatic SK, like just to follow up on that. I think that they're very playable in GPPs. I think that I don't know. I think a lot of the attention is going to go to Rogue, like you said. They feel safer against Astralis than even Fnatic does against SK. Not saying that SK is a good team or that Fnatic's going to lose, but just Rogue feels safer. That Misfits BDS, even Vitality over XL feels like they're going to have a little bit more attention just based on pricing. And then again, like you said, everything's going to be focused here. Now, I would have more faith that G2 would be the higher owned team. And I think that maybe they will be, but I was just aghast at how highly owned Mad was, albeit against BDS last week, even in cash and winner take alls, to the point where everybody had the same lineup except for me. Like you can get an Aloya captain with a Malrang Larson comp. Like, I don't know, man.
I don't know. It's a spot where like Mad and G2 are like the people's favorites. They're like the two teams that everyone wants to play every single week, and like rightfully so. Right? They're obviously the two teams that have the greatest upside historically. Maybe G2 not somewhat as much now as they were when they were like G2, but people still like them, and it's just going to be an ease thing. Like you can fit a double ADC with G2, I'm pretty sure, with every single big favorite. So like, is it more likely for people to jam that than it is to jam this 4-3 with Aloya captain?
As the president of the Aloya fan club, what do you think, Ian?
I mean, the guy fucks, but
I mean, talking about like best player in LEC history here. So it's I mean, I don't know. I don't like to think about cash, honestly. Like I was talking to Nathan about this privately. Like to the point where I just make my one lineup and like whatever, it's going in the double ups. I actually did something different last night for LPL because it was so clear that you were supposed to have some BLG and double ups that I went ahead and did that, and I lost, of course. But no, I don't like to think about cash because to me, cash is like it's like a broken way to play League of Legends a little bit. Like I just think it's dumb. I don't think it's very fun.
no.
I think so much more about like winner take alls and how I play the game. And so, yeah, like Matt is obviously way up there for me. G2 is another really strong candidate. I didn't realize. I mean, Nathan seems to think that G2 is going to be chalk. I didn't realize that was going to be the case. I don't. I mean, it might be, it might not be, but yeah. I was sort of drifting off. I was thinking about cash lineups and it broke my brain. So I was.
Well, even okay. I mean, even a winner take all lineup. Like, I guess if my lean is that G2 is a significantly better team than Mad. Mad is like a lucky win team. They just have this ability to I don't know, man, like just do it all the time and just get bailed out by the other team, not so much by themselves, by the other team. And I just don't know if this G2 team, who has looked shaky at times, is going to be a team that's going to bail out Mad if Mad falls behind.
Yeah, I think Mad's the better team. I think they're really close. Like, I don't think it's a huge discrepancy, and I think that's reflected in the betting markets and stuff. But obviously, I think that the total, it just makes it super clear that this game is even stronger than last night's V5 OMG situation. Like last night, the Ultra Prime Anyone's Legend total was like right there with V5 OMG. Like it was a toss up. This game is clearly the game to target on the slate. Obviously, that's going to come with ownership, and you can go a different direction if you want to try to get different. But in terms of just like raw 4-stack upside, I think this is the game to target. Yeah, the game. Either side. Pick either side of the coin. I lean more towards Mad. It sounds like Emmerich leans more toward G2. Mad has them in gold at 15, gold spend percentage. G2, I mean, they have them in kill death ratio. Like that's something. That's not nothing. But like a lot of the stats. No, I mean G2 has multiple stats in their favor: dragon percentage, baron percentage. I mean, it's a close game.
They're all pretty close.
Game.
I mean, even when you look at like a lot of the different statistics that Gelati puts out on his Patreon, I mean, they're like right next to each other. One team's better in one thing, but like they're 5-6 or 6-5 or 5-6, or the big difference that they have is like the goal difference at the first 20 minutes. So I don't know. I guess just watching G2, I feel like G2 have been the better team between the two of them. But maybe the statistics don't necessarily indicate that. But my hope is, and I don't care who I want to win or who I think is going to win. I care what everybody else thinks, especially in this game. And so that's the thing to pinpoint. There was one time this year that I thought everybody would be on the other side of G2, and I put G2 in every one of my lineups. I think it was the last time the two teams played, as a matter of fact. And everybody was on G2 with me. And I was like, well, shit, they're the chalk, and I have them in every one of my lineups. Awesome. Exactly.
I was gonna say, I don't think there's a huge edge to be had here in like small field tournaments, because I think you're going to see both teams fairly popular.
Yeah.
I think it is really interesting, and I truly have no idea like which team is going to garner more ownership in like winner take alls and stuff. But I would want to be on the other side of wherever that ownership is on this slate, obviously. But I mean, that's the tricky part of that.
Who are you playing in winner take alls, Ian? Just not that I'm in a couple with you or anything, and I just want to know.
I mean, I'm probably going to play one of these two teams, and I'll probably pair them with either Rogue, Misfits, or Fnatic. There you go.
Look, at the end of the day, I know who you're going to play because
I just gave you the blueprint.
If you don't play a certain guy from this game and you're wrong, you won't be able to live with yourself. If you're right, it's okay. You'll get past it. But
we all know I'm going to have El Yo-Yo, so go ahead and play G2 and have fun with it. And good luck to you, because you're going to need it. Because G2 doesn't have anybody on the level of El Yo-Yo in terms of fuckery.
That is true. That is true.
Chaos and Yankos do fuck on stage, though.
G2 doesn't even have a top 2 fucker in this game. We got Unforgiven, the rookie, coming in hot, man.
I don't know. Maybe Flack is going to get him.
Flackett's pretty fun. He's good.
So I guess my question, Nathan, my question, Ian, is in the 333. You have 2 entries. Both of you have 2 entries. We all have 2 entries. If you want to, you don't have to. Apparently, are you going to have one of these 2 teams in both of your lineups?
Nathan's not going to answer. He's too wrapped up in his game theory.
No, I'm too wrapped up in. I forgot to register for contests. I was going to look to see if there's spots left before I have to go register. But will I have the same team?
It's probably full by now.
No, they were big today, and they haven't paid out the LPL LCK yet. So that's you still have spots in just about everything. Actually,
everything's open still. I'm gonna go register in a minute. Will I have the same team in both my lineups? Yes, most likely. I'll probably have. I have no idea what side I'm gonna pick, but I will pick one side and likely only play that side.
That's always interesting. I'm like happy to play both sides. I feel like you're the same, Emmerich.
Yeah, so what I'll do on this slate is I probably will play both sides, but maybe I won't play them in the same contest. One of the things I like to do with like the bounty hunter that's $44 is I max that, and I'll play just one team with a couple different combos. But 6 entries at $44, with 1.5K up top is kind of like my hedge. It's like an additional entry within that tournament with less upside. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to win 5K because it's not offered, but that's how I'll get my exposure at times is through different contests, or the $5 I'll max that's 35 entries, and I'll try and play 1 or 2 teams in there that I don't play other places. Ideally what happens is that when I win the spots that I really want to win, it's good, but if I don't, hopefully I can curb some of my losses in other places, and it allows me to play a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more accepting of I'm either going to take 1 through 10 or I'm not.
I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my day, though, if I'm dead after the first or second game. That's the problem.
What's the first game today?
What's that?
So which one's the first game?
Misfits BDS. Obviously G2
I could be dead after that game. 100%. I could be fully dead after that game.
So, yeah.
I might actually be brain dead because I've come to grips with the fact that Nathan is really, really fucking good at this, and I just take the opposite strategy of him all the time. It's pretty stupid.
No, I think that playing both teams is obviously you're fine. it's the same if you're playing decent lineups, you just have the same expected long term. If you're doing that, I'm just accepting like the much higher variance route, you know?
Yeah, no, but I think I think I've always struggled with that as a DFS player. I mean, I've played DFS for a long time, and I've always struggled with that concept, whether it's playing lower owned players in other sports or going all in on a side in esports
Well, I mean,
or whatever it
go
may
back
be. But like, I've always struggled with that.
But Nathan, I
back to
think
poker.
I think that like your strategy is easier for me to at least embrace, and that I've had trouble doing it, but it makes more sense. Is in like the 15 when you're MMEing, when you're doing it in like the 333. You know, like I don't know. Sometimes I want to play both sides. It's a lower. Like I know that this is the nut game. Like if I can get on both sides of this, I just have to predict one other game. I don't even have to predict this game. I just have to basically predict which game's going to be good and then pick a winner to go with it. You know, in the 15, it's a lot harder to do that because there's more entries. So you know, I can understand the variance there. I don't know if any of that made sense.
Yeah, it's just like everything's so stupid top heavy. That's what I was saying with you, Ian. Is like when you play poker, I know you played a decent amount of tournaments, but did you play a lot of cash as well? I have no idea.
Yeah, I've played a lot of both.
Okay,
more cash than
tournaments. If you had the choice between only playing large field MTTs or like playing the same cash game every week, right? One of them, like if you had the same exact like long-term EV, it's the same idea, right? Like one of them is like stupid high variance. You're taking like 50 buy-in downswings. You know?
Yeah, I think I would choose cash personally.
Right, because it's stable, and it's not awful. It's like not mentally like terrorizing.
Right.
And that's like the
difference. But it's much less fun, and I've had a lot of success in both tournaments.
Oh yeah,
poker and GPPs and fantasy, but they're just so much more painful on the psyche and the heart.
Oh yeah. It's just brutal. Like any top 10 is in like poker and DFS. Like that's not first place. It's just like so like heartbreaking because like like you ran like God to get there, and then like you don't get paid off.
Yeah, especially if you get like 5 in a week, or like the week that I got 3 in a row in LCS. Like in LCS to get 3 second places in a row and like just doesn't pay anything in 5.
When it's 33% to first, it's just like not literally comes second place. It's just pain. It's pain. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just embrace the variance and like, you know, that's all it is. I think that it might be smarter if I think as I increase like volume long term, I probably like play less of a variant style in a lot of ways. Right. Just because like I probably can't like mentally deal with the swings that it'll bring if I play the same way.
Right. And as you go on those huge down streaks, all of a sudden you're embracing variance. Your tolerance for it goes down as your bankroll goes down.
Oh yeah. That's what I was saying last night is November, December. I was talking to James about it. November and December of last year, I like was so close to breaking and just like totally changing how I played because it was like just terrible. Like I just like everything went wrong every single day.
Yeah.
So
I've been there for a long time.
Yeah, it happens.
All right. Well, hey, we've been going for an hour. We've covered all the games. Ian, any final thoughts? Anything?
I want to apologize for not saying fuck enough. I'm sorry.
I mean, look, I'm not sure. We'll have to go back. We'll have to look at the tape. I'm not sure whether this or Guggs' first appearance on the Cove was the more vulgar. I know that for a fact that I refuse to cut anything in promos for that one, and I have actually thought about deleting it just because of questionable content. But I'm not going to, so you can go watch it if you want to. You'll see what I mean. Nathan knows he was there. Nathan, what about you? Any final thoughts, flag plants, declarations?
Yeah, I mean... flag plans, declarations. I think that there's like there's like 2 reasonable dogs today, and one of them is like massive chalk. So like find the other one and play a lot of them, I guess. Maybe there's 3. There's probably just 2. Maybe there could be 3, but there's probably just 2. So you just, I don't know.
I think there's 3. I think there's 3.
Yeah, I think
Astralis and SK are tough to get to, but the other 2 dogs besides G2 are I mean, whatever, they're dogs. Like,
Yeah, they're
taking
dogs.
chances.
I mean, it's just like a weird spot. I think I'm playing a lot more chalk heavy on this slate than I will on most, basically, which feels terrible to say.
You know where my flag is planted.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, here's my flag plant. Mid captain's going to win. It's going to be a high scoring slate. It's not going to be like last week. I think we are going to have a dog that's in the optimal lineup. That's not, who's the betting dog in G2 Mad Lions. Like, I'm not counting this. I'm not counting G2 as a dog here, but we're going to have another dog that's going to come out and score a ton of points. It might be SK. It could be Excel. It could be BDS, but it's not going to be Astralis. Don't play Australia's. So that's it. I mean, hey, everybody that's watched and has been watching, truly appreciate you guys watching, yesterday for the 2 hours, an hour today. We're going to go at it again tonight. Gugs is going to share some stories of parents raging at him. And if you know Gugs, like, it's probably justified. So we're going to find out what it's like to be a soccer referee with, Gugs' demeanor and what life is like on that side of things. So it should be a good time. If you're watching this on the YouTube page, please, like and subscribe. If you're watching it on Twitter, go to the YouTube page, like and subscribe. Appreciate it. All of my projections and content is over on the esports department Discord in the content announcements now, so you don't have to go through in it and find it. And then, for other stuff like golf, we talked about that briefly. Do check out Dr. Roto. We have some good golf guys over there and some good shows. But other than that, I'll see you tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We got some other guests. We'll have some drinks. We'll have a good time. Shirts are optional.